every single day. We got a beautiful day this morning. Credit to Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Governor takes all the heat when the weather's bad, so we'll give you the kudos when the weather's so good, and maybe that's a sign for what we're doing today. And what we're doing is really, really important for so many people that go to work every day, work hard, support their families and themselves. And when you think about our work as public officials, there's nothing really more important than giving everybody that opportunity, right? To go to work every day, to support themselves and their families, to make a better life for their children. And we have so much work to do in that respect, our work around education, and we've had some important pieces of legislation that came to my desk this session, and we continue to work on that to make sure, again, every child in our state has an opportunity. And part of that is to make sure that their parents are paid adequately so that they can raise them and give them the things that they need. One of my goals since being an administrative official for then Governor Carper and advising the governor and then as an elected official is to lift up those lower wage workers so that they can provide the same opportunities for the children that the rest of us can as well. And when you do that, not only do you help them, but you help lift up wages above that, because we have union officials here that their employees are not getting paid minimum wage, but they work just as hard for this legislation as they do for considerations for their own people. And Jimmy and all the folks that represent the AFL that are represented here, thank you for your tireless work on this. This doesn't happen without the strong leadership and advocates of Senator Jack Walsh and Representative Gerald Brady. You know, people criticize often the Delaware way. For me, the Delaware way is simply people working together to get things done for the people that we work for. And that's what Senator Walsh and Representative Brady did with all the other members of the legislature who are standing here behind me. So it's a great privilege for me to be here with each of you to complete this great work. And now I'd like to turn the microphone over to Senator Walsh, and I just want to personally thank him for his efforts in working with all the stakeholders in coming up with an approach that not only provides additional wages for low-wage workers, but does it in a way that doesn't discourage employment. Remember, because our overall goal is to make sure everybody has a job and income and the ability to support themselves and their family. And so you have to be careful about what you do, and Senator Walsh and his colleagues were very careful and very responsible in this piece of legislation. Senator Jack Walsh.
Thank you, Governor. I'm always one that has to jot my words down, so bear with me here a little bit. So this is, first of all, everybody here today should give themselves a big hand. The unions, our General Assembly, and our small business people here that are here today for the signing of Senate Bill 15. Over the course of my 5 years in office, I have been the proud sponsor of many important pieces of legislation, but Senate Bill 15 is by far the biggest, by far. While the General Assembly had tried before, the increase never passed. So I decided in November, right after the election, that the time now was right. I contacted my House sponsor, Representative Gerald Brady, and asked him if he would help me get this done this year. And of course, he answered absolutely, absolutely. So we worked diligently, first having conversation with Governor Carney to see what the best path forward would be to get it passed. We then worked with our local businesses and our General Assembly colleagues to craft the legislation that I felt had the best chance of getting through both chambers. The legislation boils down to one core principle. Someone who puts in a hard day's work deserves to earn enough to keep a roof over their head and food on the table. It's really quite easy, the principles this country was founded upon: equality, fairness, and taking care of each other. Other states that have already enacted phase-ins of $15 minimum wage include California, Connecticut, Florida, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Illinois, Maryland, and Rhode Island. And Virginia may also raise its scheduled wage of $12 to $15 by 2026 if reapproved by the General Assembly. So we are now the 9th state to have a $15 minimum wage, and ironically, I represent the 9th Senate District, so... According to the Department of Labor, currently in Delaware, there are 34,800 people that earn the bare minimum wage and 53,200 that earn $10 or less. Senate Bill 15 will benefit those workers and make living just a little more affordable. There are those that feel that this will cost jobs. Simply not true at all. If you look at almost every instance in which we've raised the minimum wage, you see the unemployment rate in Delaware fall or remain flat. You see the labor force participation rate increase or remain flat, and you see Delaware's GDP grow or remain flat. The reason is simple. Putting more money in people's pockets means more bills getting paid and more money going into cash registers, which results in a better economy for all of us. But I am not deaf to the concerns of our business community either. I have met with countless business owners and trades groups over the last year and drafted a bill that addresses their greatest concerns. First of all, this bill gets us to $15 an hour gradually over the next 5 years. Second, the first increase does not take effect until January 1st of 2022. The bill is not a question of pro-business or anti-business. It's a simple question of whether you believe in lifting people out of poverty or not. The pandemic is highlighting the gross imbalance between the productivity of our workers and the wages they are paid. It would be economically immoral if we did not pass a $15 minimum wage increase to help lift all of hardworking Delaware families and let them know that there's a chance for everyone to achieve the American dream. So with that said, I'd like to recognize the following businesses, the small businesses and labor groups who were so instrumental in getting this done this year. First, Alyssa Barron-Menza, Vice President for Business for a Fair Minimum Wage, is here with us today. Alyssa. Courtney Sunborn, the owner of Ecolistic Cleaning in Lewis. Kristen Deptula, owner of Canal Side Inn in Rehoboth Beach. Ravi Goel, managing partner, Even and Odd Minds, Wilmington. Sarah Titus, owner the comic book shop in Wilmington, and they're all right over here. Ryan Peters, owner and company director of Rise Fitness and Adventure in Rehoboth Beach. Ian Wilkinson, owner of Cyber Ballet in Claymont. We have representatives here today from the Service Employees International Union, the SEIU. From the United Food and Commercial Workers, we have representatives from them here today. I saw Nelson here. The National Employment Law Project was instrumental in this. The Working Families Party, Vanessa Clifford. Amazon and Target were also behind this. It's not just in Delaware, but on a national scene. And of course, my friends over here from the AFL-CIO, who always have my back and do what they can for all the working families here in Delaware. And then finally, to my Democratic colleagues in both the Senate and House for working together to support families and workers in Delaware. Without this, there's no way this would have got done. So I thank you, and some of them are here today. So thank you, everybody, for coming today. It's a big day in Delaware. It's a beautiful day. And now I'll turn this over to Representative Gerald Brady.
Thank you, Senator Walsh. And before I begin to tell you a little bit about the journey as to how we got here today, let me just accentuate one fact. The weather today has been in absolute compliance with anything the governor could have ordered. And the reason I say that is each time the SEIU held a rally over the past several years up at Rodney Square, it was generally sub-freezing, definitely below 32. Most times it was windy, and the wind chill factor, I think, was 15. That would be consistent with his numbers. Senate Bill 15, $15 an hour. And this is my 15th year in the General Assembly, so you're right. Maybe there is. And one of the reasons I was playing around with the numbers is the week before, actually the Monday before, so it had to be the 15th, before the due date, or I should say date certain for the legislation was going to be that Thursday. I happened to notice that the amendments, proposed amendments, were piling up, and I thought at one point, although it only reached 9, I thought there was going to be 15 amendments on the bill, or we wouldn't have been here today, but there were actually 9, and how do you diminish 9 pieces of 9 proposed amendments to a piece of legislation? You turn to the A team and to all my colleagues, particularly from the House, who voted consistently for this bill. So I most certainly want to recognize them today, as well as the senators. But in particular, when it got to the House, it was time. But I did want to recognize, I saw a gentleman in the back here, David Walsh. David was with SEIU, who kept me informed most of the time. And I will say, last but not least, men and women of labor here today. I'll start with the AFL-CIO Executive Board and the President, James Marvellis, who happens to be the President of Building Trades, and also Labor's Local 199. His Vice President, Nelson Hill, from United Food and Commercial Workers, Local 27. I got it right. And is Faith back there? Well, Gervis Miner from Public Employees, James Ryan from Communication Workers. Oh, and that's Larry. So again, I appreciate your coming out today on behalf of all those who deserve a greater way of fighting poverty is to get a better wage. Thank you.
There we go. We're live. All right, we're here to complete the great work. Senator Walsh, Representative Brady, all the advocates have been mentioned, members of the General Assembly behind me. One thing I think it's important to point out, and it was implicit in something that I said about committed to kind of lifting up folks that make a low wage. And that is, we have state employees that do that. In fact, this budget, it's always been my objective to make sure, as Senator Walsh said, that everybody that puts in a full day's work and works hard is not working under the poverty, is not receiving wages under the poverty level. And my budget this year does that. And I want to thank the General Assembly for passing the budgets and puts us on course to implement Senate Bill number 15. So we're walking the talk now. This is Senate Bill number 15, sponsored by Senator Walsh in the House and many of his colleagues. Representative Brady, I'm sorry, Senator Walsh in the Senate. Representative Brady in the House. And again, my privilege to complete the great work of the General Assembly by signing Senate Bill 15. All right, let's go to work.